He didn't pick that up from a courtroom. He picked it up straight from his pops. Long before flashing sirens and body cam drama, T.I. looked his son dead in the eye and said the quiet part out loud, "If you move like this, time is gonna teach you." That wasn't no curse, no empty threat. It was a veteran giving a rookie the kind of warning that could save his life. And if you've been watching the last couple years, you know why that warning still haunts him. The arguments staged for the cameras, the need to flex harder than the next man, the little reckless choices that stack up until they explode into big, messy headlines. It's all been playing out in real time. That's why the rumor mill is buzzing, timelines are loud, and strangers swear they already know the ending. But the truth is heavier, uglier, and way more complicated than some one-liner verdict. It all kicked off on what should have been a regular night. Nothing special. One small mistake turned into a chain reaction. He pulled out of a gas station in his BMW, just a little quick, a little too slick, and nearly clipped a police cruiser. That tiny swerve lit the fuse. The officers pulled up, body cam already rolling, and suddenly the checklist started. The smell of weed in the air, a gun sitting on his hip, his name popping up in the system. Calm voices on one side, sharp replies on the other, and then came the real game changer. A warrant from 2022 still hanging over his head. Speeding, a suspended license, a DUI, and a skipped court date like it was nothing. Back when life felt too fast for rules to catch him, he thought he could outrun the paperwork. But paperwork don't blink, it just waits. And in 2024, that wait ended cold. What the cameras won't show you. No meltdown, no screaming match, no tough guy chest pounding for the crowd. Just a young man wearing that look. The look people get when they finally realize there ain't no smooth talk slick enough to erase yesterday's mistakes. The officer calmly lifts the gun, clears it, and clicks the cuffs around his wrists. They guide him to the cruiser while King keeps his voice steady, answering what he can. Calm helps, sure, but calm ain't armor. The ride drags him from county to county, from holding cell to transport van to another intake door. A harsh reminder that the system doesn't care how many followers you had smiling at your jokes last week. That part never goes viral because it ain't flashy, it's raw reality. And just when reality bites, the past comes stomping back in like it never left. Spin the clock to 2022. Bright lights buzzing over greasy tables, a Waffle House where the food is cheap but pride costs heavy. He snapped that night. Words flying like darts, a live stream running non-stop, the world watching chaos unfold. The point wasn't about who won that argument. The point was why he was even there, fighting for air that didn't pay him a dime the next morning. T.I. didn't rap about it, didn't dress it up. He just shook his head, looking like a father who already knew how this movie ends. And all he said was, "That's grown man code for you." Selling out your future just to flex for a room that won't even remember your name by sunrise, that's the trap. And still, the lesson didn't land. Not yet. Then came that music video moment, the one that exposed everything. A set crowded with too many guns, too many eyes, and way too little sense. That's when Boozy and T.I. pulled up like human brake pads, shutting the whole scene down. Their questions cut sharp. Who's claiming these? And if the police roll through, why are you staging the one picture guaranteed to be used against you? That wasn't clout. It was paperwork in waiting. They weren't stepping in to look like strict parents for the cameras either. They were spelling out consequences in plain language because both of them had already paid that price in full. And if you listen close to T.I.'s words, you catch the fear wrapped inside the firmness. Not fear of embarrassment, but fear of a system that doesn't hand out do-overs when you bring the wrong props to the wrong place at the wrong time. But life always throws a curveball. His twist? Just a few pounds heavy, showing up before sunrise on November 5th, a baby boy. The caption read like both a promise and a prayer. "Dear son." It felt less like a message to the newborn and more like King talking to himself, begging to step up. And for a second, the whole algorithm softened. Timelines turned from chaos into family snapshots. You saw him cradling his son, pacing the house with sleepless eyes, wired like every first-time dad who realizes love is loud, but responsibility is even louder. It looked like the turning point, the moment a boy finally had to grow into a man, because now a smaller boy was watching his every move. But then those body cam clips resurfaced, flooding the feeds again, and the contrast hit cold. One window showed a lullaby. The other showed cuffs. That's not hypocrisy, it's a head-on crash. Two versions of his life colliding at the intersection called Right Now. The crowd did what crowds always do. Some hyped him up like the arrest was a badge of honor proving he's outside, while others clowned him for turning fatherhood into a photo shoot and ignoring the fine print. But then there was the quieter crew, the ones who've lived a little. They said the only story worth rooting for is the one where he learns the lesson before a judge has to force it. Everyone had a take, because when you grow up with cameras in your face, privacy ain't part of the deal. Every slip-up becomes a movie trailer for a film the world swears they've already seen. But trailers? They lie. They cut out the pauses, the late-night calls to your mom, the silence after your dad hangs up and you're left staring at the ceiling, wondering why you keep chasing the wrong game. Meanwhile, people kept throwing around a number like it was inked on court papers. 5 years. It makes a flashy thumbnail, it makes a juicy headline, but it doesn't make it true. The record right now shows a 2024 traffic stop, a firearm pulled, and that old 2022 warrant finally catching up. Transfers between facilities. A young man staying calm, but calm doesn't erase past choices. That doesn't mean the consequences disappear. It means the story isn't being written in all caps by rumor pages. It's being typed in small print by lawyers, judges, and calendars full of court dates that don't trend because they're too boring for the blogs. That's the cruel twist of the real world. It moves way slower than the internet, and the pain lasts way longer than the comments. And through it all, the one thing you can't fake, the pull of fatherhood, keeps tugging at his sleeve. There's a baby at home who don't care what Twitter is screaming about. A baby who'll never see the Waffle House clip, never hear about a warrant, never understand why the internet loves to drag somebody. That child only knows one thing. Is dad there or not? Does dad smile when he wakes up? Does dad's voice sound like safety? That's the only currency that matters, time and presence, not likes and reposts. And that right there is what T.I. meant when he said time is the teacher. Not just jail time, father time. The clock that measures whether you choose the show or the substance. It's easy to slap a label on it, call it a tragedy or a redemption story, and move on. But that's lazy. He ain't doomed, and he ain't saved either. He's stuck in season 2, with the writers fighting over where to take the script next. One writer wants him to double down, go louder, flex harder, and prove the haters right by becoming exactly what they expect. The other writer wants him to tear the script up completely, call the lawyer first, be on time for court, head home after the studio, say nah when the wrong friends text at 1 a.m., and live more than he posts. The ending? It all depends on which voice he listens to. And you can still hear T.I.'s warning echoing in the background of every beat. Years ago, when he said there's nothing he can do to stop a certain outcome if his son keeps choosing a certain path, people called it a threat. But it wasn't. It was a confession. A father can open doors, fund dreams, warn you until his voice cracks, but he can't carry your charges for you. He can't undo the skipped court dates. That weight is yours alone. He can't erase your name from the system with a snap of his fingers. He can love you so loud the whole world hears it and still have to watch a deputy slam a door shut because the calendar says you missed where you were supposed to be. That's the part that humbles everybody. Fame shouts, but the law whispers, and the law is patient. Family sits somewhere in the middle, begging you to take the path that gets you back home for dinner. 'Cause here's the truth. You can be the star on Friday night and a case file by Monday morning. You can be a viral clip at lunch and a cautionary tale by dinner. Or you can be the man who decided a lullaby mattered more than a live stream. And that switch? It doesn't take a miracle. It just takes boredom. Boring choices stack into beautiful lives. Skip the party. Show up for probation. Text your girl you're going to bed early. Ignore that DM from the one person who only pops up when a headline's about to be born. And here's the wildest part. He's already proved he's got it in him. He didn't blow up on camera during the stop. He kept his cool, measured every word. That's a seed right there. Imagine planting it somewhere smarter. Imagine that same calm when friends try to escalate, that same tone speaking to an officer used to being antagonized. Imagine flipping that discipline into the booth and dropping tracks about accountability. That would hit harder than any clout anthem, because it would be real. Fans feel real, and real always charts, even if it doesn't trend. But temptation is sneaky. It whispers in your ear to prove something, to flex toughness, to clap back at every critic, to spin the block on anybody who clowned you last week. And that whisper can be louder than any beat. Attention feels like oxygen, but here's the catch. Oxygen can get addictive. Attention never says enough. It always wants more. Another clip, a louder caption, a wilder stunt. The same algorithm that celebrated you becoming a dad will flip in a heartbeat, strip everything down to black and white, and replay that body cam footage on loop if you hand it the chance. So if you're gonna feed something, feed the part of you that doesn't need applause just to breathe. There's a quieter montage that never makes the blogs, but it's the most powerful one. It starts with this. You wake up early because the baby woke up earlier. You answer your lawyer's email in full sentences. You actually block out the court dates first, then the studio sessions, then whatever's left. You call your mom before the internet calls her. You text your father even when you're not in the mood to hear his advice. You drop 3 songs that bang in the car without glorifying the very chaos that nearly cost you the car in the first place. You cut off the friend who thinks recording you angry is entertainment. You bring in the friend who tells you to log off before you make headlines. None of that is flashy, none of it goes viral, and yet all of it is powerful. People love to call T.I. a hypocrite. Soft in one clip, tough in the next. They say it's mixed signals when he scolds in one breath and laughs in another. But that's not hypocrisy, that's fatherhood. He's allowed to beam when his son gets it right and be frustrated when his son chooses the hard road. That's what being a dad really looks like. Messy, complicated, but real. He's allowed to stand in that courtroom one day like a mountain, stone-faced, steady, and still be the softest voice his son hears later that night. The internet wants him to be a headline. His family needs him to be a man. And those two things, they are not the same. So where does this leave King? Balancing on a knife's edge that he carved himself, holding a map his father handed him for free. And that map says the same thing it's always said. The fastest road to peace is boring, disciplined, private, steady. The longest road, that's the scenic route the algorithm loves. Flashing lights, messy peaks and valleys. 1,000 opinions from strangers who wouldn't even help carry your groceries in real life. The secret is simple. There's no VIP exit for famous kids. If you miss your turn, you still gotta drive further just to loop back. And every extra mile burns gas you'll never get back. Meanwhile, the rumor mill keeps buzzing because that's what rumors do. They sell fake certainty while the truth hobbles along on crutches. But here's the trick. Let them hum. Let them talk like they've seen the paperwork. Let them tag each other with whispers and sources. You don't have to argue with any of it. You just have to live in a way that makes the rumors look boring compared to your reality. Because at the end of the day, courts decide outcomes. Fathers decide which parts of themselves they'll pass down, and sons decide when to stop performing for people who won't be there to pay the bill when the night goes left. Maybe you're reading this waiting for some wild twist, the kind of out-of-nowhere shock that flips the whole table. Well, here it is, and it ain't flashy. The real twist is this. He's still early enough to choose. He can still walk into a room and carry the same calm he showed in handcuffs. Only this time, calm before the chaos. He can still let the baby monitor be the metronome and build a project that sounds like responsibility with bass heavy enough to shake the block. He can still give his father the one thing every dad eventually craves, proof that all those warnings weren't wasted, they were planted. And if you want a single line to tattoo on your memory, it's this: attention is rented, consequences are owned. King's been paying rent for years. It's time to buy something that lasts. That purchase starts with discipline. Show up every time his name is called. No excuses. Growth comes when he chooses to be seen less, but heard sharper. Maturity comes when he drops music that doesn't chase shock value, but still shakes rooms because it's real. And if he's lucky and disciplined, one day the headlines won't be able to hold him. The story will be too steady, too rooted, too grown for that. He didn't need a judge to spell this out. All he needed was to replay that moment his father locked eyes with him and told him exactly what time it was. The world can debate the next chapter all it wants, but the pen is in King's hand. And if he chooses right, the loudest thing people will say about King Harris in a few years won't be a rumor, a charge, or a viral clip. It'll be a quiet sentence whispered by people who remember the old days. He figured it out when it mattered most. Like, share, subscribe, comment, star T.